Hello and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome to my channel. I'm Sarah and today I'm going to talk about all the tattoos that helped me take my body back. These are all of the tattoos that have really helped me emotionally. They're my only tattoos that really have like a deep emotional meaning to them. Before we get started, I do want to mention that this video contains a paid partnership with BetterHelp, but I will talk more about them later on. For a brief backstory, I have struggled with scoliosis and I had scoliosis surgery, and I've also struggled with eating and working out and had a really toxic relationship with eating and working out, and I will be discussing more heavier topics like depression. I'll also be mentioning a abusive relationship that I was in as well, so just putting this out there as a content warning. So let's get right into it. Going into the first tattoo that I'll be talking about is my butterfly stomach tattoo. Unfortunately, I've previously struggled with like body image issues, and I feel like a lot of people can relate to this, but I had a really bad relationship with working out and eating, and I took it way too far and was like on this like health kick and all of that. But as I've moved more towards like posting body acceptance content, I have kind of like really healed that relationship in myself. And a massive part of reclaiming my body back and getting back into like a good relationship with my body was getting this butterfly stomach tattoo. Reason why it is so significant to me, you might just look at it and be like, oh, it's just a butterfly tattoo, but it's more about the placement of it. I think getting a tattoo right on like my ab lines really fixed that for me, as well as like fixing my whole issue with how I saw my torso and my wide rib cage. And this sounds weird and it might not make sense to a lot of people, but I'll just break it down and share how I felt. But basically, because I held a lot of identity and in like my abs, which sounds ridiculous, but I felt like I've always wanted to be heavily tattooed, and my abs were like stopping me from getting tattooed because I wanted to be able to show them off and things like that. Like a part of me was worried that if I got a tattoo there, when I flexed, you wouldn't see them as well anymore. And I just had this really toxic idea in my head that my abs had more importance. They genuinely actually do, because at the end of the day, it's just a muscle. I don't need to show off that muscle. I've wanted to be covered in art, and I would use my abs as a way to like feel comfortable about my torso, even though I never fully felt comfortable with it. So I feel like once I got this stomach tattoo and finally like decided to place this tattoo on like the placement where it's placed, I felt like it healed a lot in me, because I now look at my torso and I actually love what I see, and I love that tattoo, and it's made me feel so much more comfortable with my relaxed body, which sounds weird because it's just like, it's a tattoo, but I love wearing like things like this now, and I love like just sitting without like flexing in, and it's taken away from the importance that I placed on my abs, because I knew deep down inside that that was such an unhealthy mentality to have, and have like my abs be such a focus of my life. Like that is not the way I wanted to live my life. And it's just crazy that like just getting a tattoo on my stomach has helped me with so much, and has helped me with like getting rid of like my fixation on like stomach muscles and abs and all of that. So that's been like a really big thing for me, because now I only work out to better my like joint health, my heart health, my mental health, and just like my physical body overall, like the longevity of it. And I don't work out for aesthetics anymore, which is like the biggest thing I've had to overcome. So getting that butterfly tattoo on my torso has been it's healed me massively, and I am so much more in tune and appreciative of my torso. And I fully 100% can say that I fully accept my whole torso as it is, relaxed, flexed. I have no more fixation on my stomach muscles. I don't even think about them anymore, which is incredible. Looking back at these tattoos, I realized like they're little timestamps of where I've been with my mental health. And honestly, lately I've been reflecting a lot on where I thought I'd be at this point versus where I actually am now. It hit me last year when I was still living at my mom's house, and I saw people that I know in real life buying houses, and they were like making like adult moves. I know I talk a lot about like comparison online and comparison to what we see online versus reality. I feel like I've got like the body aspect of that figured out, but something that I really still struggle with is comparison of how far I am in life compared to other people online or people that I know in real life. I used to picture that by this age I would have like certain things figured out, but the reality is that I don't, and sometimes I feel like I'm left behind and like I should be further along. Like I would compare myself to other people who are my age and feel down by not having the same life as them. For example, I'd compare myself to how much they make, them buying houses or going out to extravagant events, and I wasn't. And sometimes I'd think about, what if I didn't struggle with my mental health like I did throughout my life and if I'd be in the same point as them. But I've learned that this isn't something that we can ruminate on because everyone has different lives and different life paths. And therapy has really helped me at these points in my life and has helped me overcome these mental health struggles that I've talked about. We genuinely shouldn't be afraid to reach out for help when we need it. And I've been such an advocate of therapy as I've been in and out of therapy since I was 13. Therapy has given me the tools to stop spiraling into comparison, and it's helped me focus on my own growth. The thing that I've learned in therapy is labeling and reframing. So labeling a thought as a comparison thought. For example, the thought would be, I'm a failure because I'm almost 30 and haven't bought a house yet. So labeling that as a comparison thought allows you to stop spiraling and prevents rumination. So moving to reframing that thought into, I am not a failure. We all have different life paths. There's no set guide on how people should live their lives. And also, success isn't measured by if or when you can afford to buy a house. And my value isn't based on this because I'm prioritizing other goals, and that's okay. And over time, your brain gets used to labeling and reframing so that helps you from spiraling into comparison and those spiraling comparison thoughts. That's why I'm grateful that this video is in paid partnership with BetterHelp. A therapist will listen, ask questions, and help you see things from new perspectives. They can also give you advice and techniques to make positive changes in your life. With BetterHelp, you'll just have to fill out a short questionnaire and you'll be matched with a credentialed therapist as soon as possible. And if your first match doesn't feel right for you, you can switch therapists at any time with no extra cost. BetterHelp has over 7,000 reviews and a 4.3 rating on Trustpilot, so it's a platform that many people trust. You can click the link in my description or go to betterhelp.com/sarahpluto to get 10% off your first month of therapy. Thank you so much to BetterHelp. So the next tattoo I want to talk about is my back tattoo. A lot of people think that I got this tattoo to cover up my scoliosis surgery scar, but I actually didn't. I am in a way kind of sad that my scoliosis scar isn't as visible anymore because I actually really loved the look of that scar and I thought it looked really badass and really cool. As I've said before, I've always wanted to be like fully covered and heavily tattooed, and the issue with my scoliosis surgery was that I was too afraid to get a tattoo on there because of the amount of pain that my back does have because of the scoliosis surgery. I have numb spots on my spine and just like this massive numb spot right on my back where my bra strap would go. That's what prevented me for ages of getting this like massive back piece, but I knew I wanted to get it covered one day because I just love tattoos. Another thing that I don't think I realized at the time was that I also struggled with my back knee, and something that I've noticed after getting this massive tattoo is that I don't notice my back knee anymore, and it's a way that has like made me kind of not erase these insecurities or an insecurity, but kind of has helped me accept and merge it into like a form of art, because now whenever I do get back knee, it's not something that I hyper fixate on or I feel insecure about, because I'm just kind of like, it doesn't matter if you can see my back knee anymore. It just mentally has shifted my mindset around my back and my back knee and has like helped me reclaim that part of my body to be something that I'm not insecure about anymore. With regards to my scoliosis surgery, it again wasn't something, like my surgery scar wasn't something that I wanted to hide. It was just something that I knew I was gonna get tattooed over eventually, but like the guts of just being like, okay, I'm gonna go get it tattooed even though I know it's gonna hurt so bad. And I was worried about like my numb spots around my surgery scar, but at the end of the day, those ended up being a massive saving grace because I was in so much pain during that tattoo. It was a very painful and, dare I say, spiritual experience in terms of pain and getting over the fear of being tattooed on such a emotionally heavy spot, if that makes sense, and just like turning it into a form of art that I never thought would be possible for me. It was very spiritual in that way. So I love that as like an example of creating your insecurities into like a form of art and reclaiming that back. Literally, ignore the pun. I didn't even realize that. Going on to the next tattoos. These are kind of like 2 in 1, but they are an ode to my depression. So I am someone who has actually struggled with depression my whole life, basically, since I was like 13. And I feel like over the last 2 years, I've finally like healed my depression and gotten out of it, which is absolutely incredible and something that I never thought I'd say. But back when I got these tattoos, I knew I always kind of wanted something on my body to like reclaim back and express in art form and as a permanent memory on my body of the things that I struggled with, so that I can kind of look back on them and remember how far I've come. The first one is this tattoo. It says "You'll be okay." It is on some of my old scars. Obviously this tattoo is very deep and emotionally charged, but I feel like it's quite self-explanatory. I feel like once I overcame SH, it was very like, it's very sentimental to me because I never thought I would be able to overcome that, and I wanted something to remind myself that I don't need to do that anymore, and that there are so many other different coping mechanisms that are so much healthier. And I feel like it was really important for me to reclaim that area of my body, to like put something over it that reminds me like, we've gone through this, we've healed from it, and you will be okay. And it's nice to kind of like have something sentimental in that area where I have those scars, if that makes sense. The next tattoo that is kind of like an ode to my depression is my "You're Sat on a Train Again." So this is actually a 1975 tattoo. They are my favorite band. I've had very deep emotional ties to their music since I was about 15, and their song "I Always Want to Die Sometimes." If you listen to the song, you can kind of get what it is about. It's like kind of an ode to my depression because I've had reoccurring depression throughout my life for such a long time. So in the opening lyric of "I bet you thought your life would change, but you're sat on a train again," is kind of like the sad cyclicalness of how my depression would come and go, and all those like significant moments in my life and how I've like overcome them. I know it may seem like it's very sad and like a sad reminder, but to me personally, it is such a like beautiful reminder of like all the things that I've gone through and was able to pull myself out of and heal from, and all of those traumatic moments that I have gotten out of. And I think the song is just so sadly beautiful, if that makes sense. So I really just wanted to get that for myself, and because it's facing me, it's also nice because I get to see it all the time. And I think it's really funny also when I'm actually sat on a train, if someone doesn't know like what the song is about, they're just like, "This girl really loves trains." Which like I do. I love public transport so much. I love buses and trains, but that's a whole other topic. Like, this is an the tattoo is about the song, not about trains, but I do love a train. Those two are a very nice like reflection and reclaiming of emotional things that I've been through, and I think it's so important to have that like active ownership back on my body, if that makes sense. The next tattoo I want to talk about is a bit of a hard one for me to talk about still sometimes, but it's okay. This little chain break, I actually didn't really think much about it when I got the tattoo itself. It was very like random, it was very spontaneous, but it kind of was one of those tattoos that gave itself meaning after I got it, if that makes sense. So for a backstory, I was in an abusive relationship for a few years, and when I was going to my therapist at the time, she said, "It sounds like you are in a trauma bonded relationship, like you're in an emotionally abusive relationship." And she was like, "I suggest that you look up trauma bonding on YouTube." So then when I went home and my homework was to look up trauma bonding, I was watching this YouTube video, and I remember the thumbnail or some image there was like a chain breaking, and that always just really stuck with me. At the time I wasn't able to accept that I was in an abusive relationship, and I just kind of was like denying and deflecting from it and didn't want to accept that that was what was happening, because I was just like, how can this person who I am so deeply in love with be abusive, where I'm just so in love with them and I don't understand. And it really was like, when I got this tattoo, I was actually still in the relationship, but I was kind of breaking away from it. And it's so ironic because like probably like a month or two after I got the tattoo, I ended up breaking up with him and was able to like release myself from this abusive relationship. And that's like the significance that this chain now has to me, like that I didn't really like. I feel like I subconsciously was aware that I chose that tattoo because of all these meanings, but I just like still wasn't fully wanting to consciously accept the fact that this is what was happening, but subconsciously I knew, if that makes sense. So it's like another signifying memory of that kind of moment that I decided that I am going to start accepting that this is what I'm going through and this is what is happening and this is the reality of the situation. Because when I booked those tattoos, that was like kind of like the beginning of the end of the relationship. where I was able to finally like physically distance myself and move away from that relationship. So that is probably why I ended up choosing it and ended up getting it, and this is what it signifies to me now. And it's also just like a great reminder on my body to like never let myself get back into a situation like that and never let anyone do what he did to me. And it's like a reminder that I am strong enough to get away from awful things like that and be able to still be here and be living and be okay. I'm just really proud of myself for that one. Go me. Yeah. And if there is anyone else going through anything similar that I just spoke about in these tattoos, just know that you are not alone. Help is out there, and I'm sending you so much love and virtual hugs. Like literally, you can get through this. If I can get through it, so can you, and you are not alone. People have gone through these things before and gotten out of them and grown and become back to themselves and like found themselves again. So I believe in you. You can absolutely do this. I know it's terrifying, but you have got this, and I love you so much, okay? I know this video was a bit of an intense one today, but I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for holding space and allowing me to share more of these deeper meanings behind my tattoos. And thank you for being open and listening to my stories. I know they are quite vulnerable and scary, but I think it's really important that we talk about these things and are open about them and share our stories and share that sense of community and healing and bonding over difficult topics like these. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.